I've had a lot of trust issues, and this is like blowing all of those away.
I came back. I survived. A lot of them didn't, and that hurts.
Feels good to be out of uniform, but you know, I'm still a soldier for life.
If anything from my boys to take away, it's that I never quit.
Welcome to Stitch, where we celebrate the feel-good, the do-good, and the all-around good across the country. I'm Kelly Sasso, and today we're celebrating veterans, acknowledging their service and sacrifice by sharing stories from the past few years that span from coast to coast. Here's Christina Watkins with the story of one community that put hammer to nail when it came to helping one of their own.
Navy veteran Brian Tucker had fallen into homelessness after his disability checks were not enough to pay rent, and a traumatic experience on the 4th of July in 2019 pushed him over the edge.
He was being harassed by kids who were throwing firecrackers at him, and obviously this triggered his PTSD.
Two nonprofit groups in Covington, Kentucky intervened. Maslow's Army and the Barracks Project helped secure a free short-term lease in a renovated home.
I've had a lot of trust issues, and this is like blowing all of those away.
Home sweet home.
Brian stayed with the group for a couple of months before they helped him find an apartment and paid his deposit and first month's rent.
There are good people, and this shows you right here. There are people that really take other people into their open arms and to help.
Thank you for your service.
Organizers from one of those nonprofits that helped Brian told us the last they heard from him, he was doing well, and he had gotten a couple birds to keep him and his guitars company. And students can learn so much of our history from veterans. It just requires listening.
You read so much in your textbook and stuff, but hearing it from an actual person who lived through all this and hearing his personal stories and experiences and what he went through just really made it more real.
When we bombed the target, and over the target, the flak it just tore the back of the airplane.
These students at Seton High School in Ohio got a chance to hear from members of the greatest generation, including 102-year-old Bob Doolin, who shared his story of spending 16 months as a prisoner of war in a German camp.
Even adults have no idea. We were lucky. I probably couldn't talk to someone that was a prisoner of Japan or Korea then. There was no personal hatred between our guards and us.
The students spent the day in 2019 learning about every major recent conflict straight from the veterans who lived through them. They shared personal mementos, and their families shared stories of the sacrifices they had to make back at home. At least for a day, these students truly understood that history is, at its core, a collection of stories from real people. Next up in Missouri, this tiny town is making a big impact for its veteran residents.
The Veterans Community Project was founded by a group of combat vets who recognized the need for transitional housing for servicemen and women.
On any given night, there can be as many as 200 homeless veterans sleeping on the streets in the Kansas City area.
Each 240-square-foot home has running water, heat, and electricity. Residents can live in the homes until they're able to get back on their feet.
When you lose everything, no matter what you have, it's very hard to bounce back from.
This home has been a refuge for veterans like Don, whose home caught fire and left him and his family with very little.
It gives us a sense of home again, an opportunity to rebuild financially and just spiritually.
The village was built by community volunteers who not only provided funding and helped construct the homes, but ensured each one has love and support built right in.
I love the fact that we can put our love into the framing of these tiny houses.
We have a son in the Navy and one in the Marine Corps. And this looks like an awesome way to give back to the community and to these vets.
As a veteran, I will tell you that it fills my heart with joy to know, one, that we're making an impact on the community, not just with homeless veterans, but with folks in general.
And the village has grown to include nearly 50 homes and a community center. You know, another way we've seen individuals help veterans? Yard work.
Back in 2019, Rodney Smith Jr. was on a mission. He was going to mow lawns for veterans, the elderly, single moms, people with disabilities, anyone who needed it, all for free and in all 50 states. And he was setting out to inspire other kids at the same time.
Back in 2015, I came across an elderly man outside mowing his lawn. Looked like he was struggling, so I pulled over and helped him out. And that night I decided I'll stop mowing free lawns.
Rodney said he's come across many veterans who feared that they could get fined because their grass had grown too high. He says that should be the least of their worries. Frank Mooney in Pennsylvania was one veteran Rodney helped back in 2019.
I think anything that puts a spotlight on a veteran is really nice. It's really good.
A mother in California, Blanca Rosales, who usually does all of her yard work by hand, also got a little help.
It's my heart, with love of all these people that helps others.
Rodney gives back in other ways too. When a kid mows 50 lawns, Rodney's organization gives that child a new mower, a weed eater, and a blower. Hundreds of kids have now participated in the program.
So that's what I'm just trying to bring back and inspire kids. You know, you can make a difference. You can get out there in your community with a lawnmower.
While Rodney was traveling the country helping veterans, so was Michelle Ladd. She recognized that every veteran has a unique story and found a way to help them get those stories told.
I am trying to raise awareness to PTSD and help prevent suicide of our veterans and first responders.
As the founder of National Veterans Resources, Michelle uses her social media following to help vets tell their stories in their own words.
She's bringing out things that maybe give a veteran to come back from a war a second chance and a thought in life. I came back, I survived, a lot of them didn't, and that hurts.
Michelle also helps vets and first responders find resources for the unique issues they face.
They open up, we cry, we laugh, and they always say they feel better, and it helps them to just open up to a stranger. This gives me purpose, and it gives them hope that there's people out there that really do care.
Purpose drives Michelle's mission, and through her conversations, veterans use their experiences to help others.
Serve the purpose. Now I'd like to serve a purpose here to save a life.
When we come back, a Vietnam veteran with no close relatives at the time of his death in 2018 would have been shocked by the number of attendees at his funeral.
Welcome back. When veteran Stanley Stoltz died at a nursing home in Nebraska, a social worker called a local funeral home to see if they could give him a proper burial. Stoltz had no known family to make the arrangements for him, so funeral home director Michael Hoy made it his mission. He reached out to veterans groups and put an ad in the newspaper inviting the public to attend the funeral, but he had no idea it was going to go viral on social media.
It's just been a tremendous outpouring of support for this man, and even non-veteran affiliated groups.
As the notice about Stanley's funeral spread, the list of attendees grew.
Legion Riders will be there, the Patriot Guard will be there, and of course the Veterans Honor Guard. It's extremely important that somebody represents a veteran. Nobody dies alone.
Michael Hoy also learned that Stanley did in fact have a few surviving family members that lived quite far away, one of whom made arrangements to travel to Omaha for the service. But Stanley's relative wasn't the only one willing to make that long trip.
I closed up shop and said, I'm heading to Omaha. I'm going to go bury my brother. I didn't know who this guy was, but you know what? He gave up his freedom when he joined the military for that short time in Vietnam, for our freedom.
In fact, so many people decided to attend, it created a traffic backup on the road to the Omaha National Cemetery. Several hundred people of all ages and all backgrounds gathered to lay Stanley to rest.
This is amazing. It's beautiful. This is what people from Nebraska do.
I just think it's amazing how many people came out today to support this man who left this world not knowing that anybody was here to support him. And there's so many people here to support him in the freezing weather, just to show that there's people who care about you no matter who you are.
Stanley served for 2 years in Vietnam, and his ex-wife said his memories of the war haunted him, leading to substance abuse. In 2012, he entered a homeless shelter for those dedicated to getting sober. Some years later, he ended up at that nursing home where he resided until his death at the age of 73.
This banner of love folded November the 27th, 2018 at the Omaha National Cemetery is a living memorial to the courageous duty of our comrade, the one who was honored this day.
We turn now to reporters in Omaha who covered this moving story.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Alexandra. Thanks for having me.
So,
A ton of people showed up for this funeral. Can you talk a little bit about the reaction from the funeral organizers when all of these people are funneling in?
The funeral director knew that people were interested in supporting this veteran, but people just kept filing in, and more flags were coming, and these people were parking across the street. And at one point I spoke with someone who said, yeah, I just ditched my car along the highway and walked about 1.5 miles because I wanted to make sure I was here on time. The day of, they expected maybe 200 to 300, and 1,000 showed up. It was, to the point where the funeral was being stalled 30 minutes, 40 minutes, because there were so many people. And I think the farthest away, somebody came from 5 hours away. He said, I'm closing up shop. I've got to go support my brother, and he was also a veteran.
And since you were reporting on it, what was your reaction to seeing this? What was going through your mind that day?
It was tremendously moving, honestly, to see someone who died with no one. And Vietnam was not a very well-respected war when these men came home. And so it was really moving to see that kind of support for someone who, when he came home, he had no support. We're all struggling. Everybody has a story to tell. Everybody's got things going on in their life, but especially these veterans who really have given all. There's always somebody out there who could just use a friendly wave or a hello. And in Stanley's case, his caregivers were there through his final days and at his funeral as well. But, just don't forget about the people who may not have someone to say hello to them.
Thank you so much for talking with us, Sarah, and sharing Stanley's story.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, not all homecomings are bittersweet, like in the next story of a retiring Army veteran.
After nearly 30 years of service, First Sergeant Eric Dawson is exchanging his military uniform for civilian clothes.
Feels good. Feels good to be out of uniform, but I'm still a soldier for life.
Eric was welcomed home in 2019 at the airport with a greeting from the TSA Color Guard and multiple plaques thanking him for his years of service. His time in the military took him all over the world, to Germany, Korea, and Saudi Arabia.
Throughout my time in the military, I realized that, it's gonna be some tough times. There's gonna be some trying times, but I kept my eyes on the prize, which is God, and I stayed motivated.
Now, Eric is looking forward to retirement and spending quality time with family.
So proud to have my wife here, my sister-in-law, my daughter. Yeah. And it's so great. And just like he said, without God, we wouldn't even be here.
Soldier homecomings, whether permanent or temporary, are such priceless moments, especially when they're a surprise. Here are a few of those encounters, made even more special by the fact that these soldiers returning home are all moms.
We even have the Chapel Eagle here tonight. Welcome home, Major Pegues.
Welcome back. Now we turn to the many ways veterans grapple with their memories of war. Some use their hardships to help others, and in ways you may not expect.
I bled in dirt holes, and with these guys, you're all there together, and you kind of join a family that's forever.
Lloyd Blair is a Marine who served in the Iraq War. He founded Veteran Barbers for Veterans. It's a charity in Kansas City that trains vets to become barbers and also gives free haircuts and shaves to former servicemen.
Maybe a haircut could change their look on life to want to take that next step.
Lloyd hopes to expand his charity nationwide, and he even built a mobile barbershop so he can travel to those who can't make the trip.
We need to back these heroes and let them know there are people that care about them.
The founders of the Stars and Stripes Brewing Company also hope to make a difference, one beer at a time. They give a portion of the proceeds to veteran organizations. The brewery's founder, Brad Nadeau, is a former Marine and was one of the first units deployed to Iraq.
One of their mottos is Semper Fi, which means always faithful. So we were able to incorporate that into the IPA. So Semper Fi PA is our flagship.
The brewery opened to the public in 2018 in Maine.
I think that the business is going to be very successful. We have a lot of people that are rooting for us. But yeah, I am still nervous. It's a different chapter.
Over in Kentucky, retired Army Sergeant Jeremy Harrell started a new chapter of his own after founding a group called Veterans Club.
I felt like I didn't fit in anymore. I felt like I couldn't acclimate back to the civilian sector. And it's no way to feel, right? Because you've done an honorable thing and you served your country well. There's no reason you should feel lonely outside of that. And so I thought the best way to do that was get veterans connected with one another, because the bonds that are created are second to none.
Then Jeremy had an encouraging experience. He attended a horse therapy program in Kansas. The experience inspired him to start his own horse program to help other vets struggling with PTSD. He started organizing meetings and events and kept everyone in contact with one another through a Facebook group.
We've seen guys help each other move. We've seen people help each other with bills. To watch them loosen up and to get closer and closer to the animal, but also to have conversations with one another that they may not feel comfortable having conversations with in a different environment. It's been really eye-opening watching the transformations of veterans from one session to the other. I've had guys say they haven't felt so relaxed in 5 years since they redeployed from Afghanistan. I've had guys from Vietnam era say they haven't slept as good as they have. I mean, you're talking 40 years ago, but when they get home, I want them to live. I want them to enjoy life. I want to be a part of the initiative to stop the 22 veteran a day suicide rate. And if that can be enough to take a burden off solely for an afternoon, that would be good for me. I just want to help any way I can, and this right now is the best way that I know how to help.
Another unlikely business endeavor for a veteran, beekeeping.
Getting here for Alex Harrigy was not easy. More than 5 years ago, he nearly died from an explosion while serving in Afghanistan.
We found two IEDs. My team leader called me and said that they found a third device, and so we were walking to the third device when I stepped on the fourth device.
With determination and new metal legs, Alex now works with honeybees. His bees help grow food for farmers.
It's about having a purpose, for sure.
Alex says he wouldn't be here without help from the Farmer Veteran Coalition.
Our mission is mobilizing veterans to feed America.
The coalition and 2 other nonprofits teamed up to buy Alex a special forklift.
Alex told me he needed something to safely move the bees, so we found what he needed.
Clamp right here, specifically, it's meant to hold 2 different pallets, so in total you're holding 8 different hives.
For Alex, all of the buzz around his business is calming. Some of the best help for veterans comes on 4 legs. Just ask the nurses at the Toro Hospital in New Orleans.
We have people that are now coming to our units just to kind of peek in and see how the dogs are doing during the day. Everybody's so excited to have them here. There you go.
The patients love it. They cannot get enough.
These yellow labs, Toro and Indy, were part of the U.S. Veteran Service Dogs Training Program, which teaches regular dogs how to become service dogs for vets in need. These 2 were first introduced to the hospital by a patient.
Of course, we started to think, how could this benefit our patients and our staff?
The nurses volunteered to become puppy raisers and taught them some of the basics.
Stay.
The founder of the organization understands how important it is to prepare these small pups for big jobs.
A lot of them use them for different reasons, whether it's mobility needs, whether it's prosthetic help, whether it's wheelchair access stuff. It could be hearing, it could be diabetic alert.
Most of the service dogs will go on to help veterans living with post-traumatic stress disorder.
It's not only helping a veteran long-term, but it's also helping awareness so that other people know that service animals are an option for them.
For some veterans, therapy comes in the form of fitness and team sports, even if they do have to adapt.
Alex Wynn grew up playing all sorts of sports, from soccer to basketball. After high school, he left those activities behind to join the Marines. A day before his replacement was to arrive at the end of his 3rd tour, his life changed forever.
My vehicle got struck with a remote detonated IED, a roadside bomb. At first I didn't think anything happened, and then I kind of started feeling like my legs started getting really, really warm, so I kind of looked down and my left leg was kind of bent inwards, and my right ankle, it just felt like it was just swelling inside my boot.
After surgeries didn't work, his right leg was amputated below the knee. Adaptive sports have helped him heal.
It's real physical, you know, like when I first got hurt, I kind of didn't know like what sports to play. I'm gonna go with one of my buddies to watch it. And like after I seen like how physical got and stuff like that, you know, I was just like, oh man, maybe I want to give this a try.
He joined a wheelchair basketball team while working toward his psychology degree at the University of Nebraska, Omaha. He now wants to help people with PTSD. Sports are always a way for him to connect with others.
To share stories with, you know, people who have been there and understand like what it's like, kind of makes it easier on you, and you know, kind of lifts a lot of like weight off your shoulders too.
He wants his young sons to be proud of him too.
You know, like I want my boys to look at me one day when they're older and say, you know, my dad fought for our country. He was, you know, he got hurt in Afghanistan. I turned it into something good out of it. If anything from my boys to take away, it's that I never quit.
Before we go, we want to share this sweet moment that was sent to us by a viewer on Veterans Day in 2019. Little Caden here, at just 3 years old, learned the Star Spangled Banner while his brother was away at boot camp. From all of us here at Stitch, thanks for watching, and to our servicemen and women, we thank you.
XO